Hello and welcome back. Today's video is about drifters. Spoiler alert. During the Battle of Sekigahara, Toyohisa decides to stay back so his uncle, the commander of the Shimazu troops, can escape. In the process, Toyohisa manages to mortally injure the enemy general, and likewise, he gets critically wounded, but like the ultimate badass, he stands up and refuses to die, scaring the enemy army and forcing them to retreat due to Toyohisa's perseverance and resilience. As he walks from the battlefield, wounded and bleeding, Toyohisa finds himself transported to a corridor of doors where a bespectacled man at a desk waits for him. So the mad lad decides to do the only thing he knows, go and attack the omnipotent man. However, he soon learns monkeys can't bonk a supernatural being as he gets sucked into one of the doors and dropped into a field unconscious. Two elven children find Toyohisa and decide to bring him to Castle Ruins, the hideout for two other drifters. Toyohisa's wounds are stitched up, and after waking up from a dream, he meets the demon king of the six heavens, Oda Nobunaga. However, he doesn't believe that this is the real Nobunaga, as the OG was killed 18 years before Toyohisa's involvement in the Battle of Sekigahara. He also meets Yoichi, a sussy-looking archer who died almost 4 centuries ago. The trio discusses how they met the same eyeglasses-rocking man who brought them to the unknown world. Outside of their hideout, a busty spy monitors the drifters. She gets contacted by a man via a magical crystal ball to check on her status. The man in white belongs to an organization known as the Octoberist. He wants to meet the drifters and orders his men to get ready, preparing for the upcoming war with the Ents, an opposing force advocating for the destruction of the world. In a desert wasteland, Hannibal and Scipio Africanus are in the middle of a heated argument while a member from the Octoberist organization observes them from afar. The observer gets ordered by the man in white, Abe no Seimei, to bring the drifters to him in preparations for the war against the Ents. Meanwhile, the elven village located near Toyohisa's group of drifters is attacked and set on fire by soldiers from the Orte Empire for associating with the drifters. A massive F-up on their part as the main man smells blood, thusly sprinting to the village to rescue the elves so he can repay his debt to the young elves for helping him earlier. Joined by Nobunaga and Yoichi, they easily defeat the douchebags, but it's not enough. Enraged by the carnage and cruelty inflicted upon the elves by the Empire's soldiers, Toyohisa brutally beats the commander knight charged with massacring the elves with the sheath of his sword before convincing the elves to kill him themselves. Back in the corridor of doors, the bespectacled man Murasaki is visited by his nemesis, a goth chick named Easy, who mocks his efforts to send drifters to the unknown world to combat her Ents, who have begun invading the southern regions of the world. Now in the kingdom of Carneades, Seimei and his subordinate try to convince the commanders of the defensive troops to let Scipio and Hannibal take charge of their army. However, the leaders refuse to give the two drifters command over their troops, seeing them as nothing more than useless old men, and the fact that they want to be in power. A foolish decision resulted in Seimei withdrawing the Octoberists and the drifters from the country as the Ents and their army, consisting of dragons, goblins and other non-human races, begin their attack. Now, from here on, you need to focus. Lots of name drops are coming your way. The leader of the Ents, the Black Ents, sends Hijikata, Jeanne d'Arc and Anastasia Romanova into the battlefield and questions Yoshitsune if his allegiance is with the drifters or the Ents. A Chad Yoshitsune vaguely states that he'll go with the side that interests him the most. Soon after, a World War II fighter pilot, Naoshi, descends into the world, and although he doesn't know what's happening or where he's at, Naoshi engages the Black King's dragons, thus indicating himself as a drifter. With the aid of Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, Seimei, Scipio and Hannibal escape from the city to join up with Toyohisa's group. The Black King orders the Ents to find the drifters and kill them. Meanwhile, the female spy monitoring Toyohisa's group is discovered by the main man and his companions. The spy, Olminu, informs the drifters that they have been brought to the new world to fight against the Ents, though the base trio quickly rejects the idea, much to her shock. Big Booba explains to Toyohisa, Nobunaga and Yoichi that their purpose as drifters is to save the world from being annihilated by the Ents. To accomplish this, she informs them that the Octoberists are tasked with gathering the drifters together and appealing to the kings and feudal lords of the various states and countries to give command over their armies to the drifters. However, the Demon King knows better, and he's certain that the lords wouldn't allow outsiders to take charge of their armies. Instead, the Giga-chan proposes that the drifters, led by Toyohisa, take over the Orte Empire, scaring the Booba on Olminu. Meanwhile, following his success at Carneades, the Black King tends to his wounded troops and orders Rasputin to spread the news of the Carneades' defeat to recruit more soldiers in their army. Back in the elven village, Toyohisa's group offers to assist the elves with their fight against Orte to reclaim their state, though Toyohisa and Nobunaga fight over the leadership arrangements as Nobunaga wants the mad lad to lead but Toyo doesn't want to. They get interrupted by the eldest son of the murdered village's chief, who pleads for their help. Toyohisa agrees to take the role of the commander and begins to set a trap for the Orte forces to arrive in 3 days. On the third day, a force of 200 Orte troops marches into the village, only to find it uninhabited. Encamped in the trees outside of the village, the drifters and elves prepare to strike the Orte soldiers at nightfall. Before the ambush planned by the drifters, Nobunaga uses corpses and various humans' waste to create a saltpeter pit after Toyohisa buries the heads of the deceased as a sign of respect. Meanwhile, the elves begin training in archery. As night sinks in, the Orte troops notice that the village's water well was dumped with shit. At nightfall, Toyohisa and the elves launch their attack on the Orte soldiers as Nobunaga forms an enclosure to trap the Orte troops and continuously bombards them with waste-laden arrows, resulting in wounds they can't clean since the water is already filthy. Then Toyohisa enters the battle scene with a war cry. He beheads the commander of the troops, prompting the remaining soldiers to flee. In the forest, Yoichi kills the fleeing soldiers, who fall victim to excrement-infested traps. After their successful battle, Toyohisa urges the elves to rescue the female elves. Disguised as Orte troops, the drifters and elves make their way to the local fort where the main elf goes to kill an unarmed soldier. Toyohisa stops him, saying it's unhonorable to strike down an unarmed man. However, when they locate the women, Toyohisa discovers that the women have been used as slaves by the Orte soldiers, and just like that, the honor flies out of the window, and all that's left is rage as he vows to slaughter them all in retribution. After successfully taking over the fortress, Nobunaga rummages through the fort office for vital documents. At his inquiry, Olminu reveals to Nobunaga that the founder of the Orte Empire was Adolf Hitler, who pulled a classic and committed no breath shortly after establishing the country 50 years ago. Receiving word that Toyohisa has lined up the Orte soldiers to be executed for raping the female elves, Nobunaga rushes to the scene, hitting him unconscious to give the execution order himself so that Toyohisa doesn't have to dirty his hands with blood. In return, after Toyohisa wakes up, he punches Nobunaga for his interference, and the two reach an agreement to let Toyohisa do whatever he feels is right in the future. Then, the drifters return the women to their respective villages with a proclamation which contains information about the heavy losses. Orte is suffering from waging wars with numerous states. As a result, elven villages across the land begin to revolt and join the drifters. In Orte's capital city, the city's council discusses the losing wars in neighboring states, particularly their war against the merchant guild of Gubinen. The drag queen Count Saint-Germain, a powerful nobleman and former ally to Hitler, realizes Orte's impending downfall and chooses to seek an alliance with the drifters. At nightfall, the chick with anger issues, Jeanne d'Arc, and her simp Gilles de Rais, as well as several soldiers of the Black King's army, approach the drifters' hideout. They arrive shortly at the camp and the assault begins. After evacuating the elven women and children, Toyohisa confronts Jean, who he mistakes for a man, while Yoichi faces off against the giant Gilles. In the forest, Nobunaga and the elves take care of the cavalry. With Olminu's assistance, Toyohisa was able to defeat Jean but refuses to kill her when he realizes that the dude is a chick. Meanwhile, Yoichi struggles in his battle against Simp Frankenstein due to the latter's inhuman strength and durability. Before Yoichi is nearly killed, Butch and the Sundance Kid arrive at the scene using their Gatling gun to destroy Gilles' body and save Yoichi. However, Frankenstein is still standing with fire in his heart that got extinguished when he saw his tomboy queen Jean being rescued by the Dragon Riders. Thus, he dies with a smile and promises to wait for Jean to join him in the afterlife as he disintegrates into salt. After reuniting with Mrs. Booba, Seimei introduces himself to the drifters as the leader of the Octoberist organization. Seimei scolds Toyohisa for allowing Jean to escape due to her gender, but he doesn't know he's talking to the pride of the Shimazu clan, as Toyohisa is determined to uphold his principles and not become Murasaki's pawn. The next day comes and we see the Roman tactician Scipio, who was separated from Seimei's group during the ride to rendezvous with Toyohisa's group. He encounters Naoshi, who's now been appointed the Sky God to a tribe of anthropomorphic dogs. Back at the drifters' camp, Butch and Sundance Kid explain the mechanics behind their firearms to Nobunaga, who becomes ecstatic at the notion of producing more modern firearms and recalls how things would have been if he had such weapons under his disposal when he was alive. Nobunaga reveals to a concerned Seimei that he wishes to create a multi-racial federation with Toyohisa as their leader, meaning he wants to unite the new world. At nightfall, Toyohisa leads his group to free the dwarves from Orte, while Seimei, Butch and the Sundance Kid leave to search for Scipio and continue their investigation on the ends. While Count Saint-Germain and his aides journey to the elven village to meet with the Drifters, Toyohisa's group attack the Orte Empire's largest armory in Gadolka to save the dwarves. Utilizing the gunpowder that Nobunaga has concocted with the elves' assistance, Toyohisa leads the charge against the troops stationed there. However, due to the heavily armed soldiers, they're unable to enter the walled town after the Orte soldiers close the entrance gates. The one-eyed tactician Hannibal gives the one-eyed demon lord Nobunaga the idea to use Yoichi's arrows and Olminu's stone wall spells to cast a staircase alongside the gate, enabling Toyohisa's group to invade the town and free the dwarves, so Toyohisa orders meals to be prepared for them instead of taking down the castle defenders. Toyohisa negotiates with the remaining Orte troops to surrender peacefully and allow them to escape, although he slays the commander. When Yoichi prepares to pursue the fleeing troops, a habit he developed when serving Yoshitsune in the past, Toyohisa stops him and tells him that he doesn't have to follow dishonorable orders anymore since this is their war, much to the Trap Boys' delight. Meanwhile, a member of the Octoberist organization spy on the ends at Carneades. They're horrified to learn that the Black Knight taught primitive agriculture to the monsters that will someday replace the humans once the Ents have eliminated mankind. The Black King attempts to recruit one of the 6 great dragons, the Bronze Dragon, into joining his army, but is met with contempt and refusal by the latter for subjugating his dragon brethren as pets in his army. Using his ability to replicate the cells of any life form, the Black King tortures the Bronze Dragon by causing his body to suffer from cancerous growth to gain his compliance. Yeah, not very wholesome, is it? Afterwards, Rasputin presents the completion of a simple alphabet and a syncretic religion for the demi-humans to learn to help establish a unified, multicultural community as per the Black King's wishes. Meanwhile, Jean awakens from her coma after her fight with Toyohisa and is informed by Anastasia that her simp is dead. An enraged Jean vows to avenge her fallen comrade by killing Toyohisa, to which Anastasia scolds Jean for her recklessness before promising to her to do as she pleases when the time comes. Back in Gadolka, Nobunaga requests that the dwarves begin forging muskets for their army to use in future battles. The next day, Count Saint-Germain and his fellow queens arrive in Gadolka to meet with the Drifters, sending his aides to test Toyohisa to see if they're worthy to ally with. Saint-Germain reveals to Big Booba that he's a drifter and that he wants to sell the Orte Empire to the Drifters before Orte is destroyed by other warring countries. To accomplish this, Saint-Germain recommends that the Drifters overthrow the Orte Empire and seize their territory. While Saint-Germain's aides sneak the Drifters and their army into the Orte Empire's capital city, Saint-Germain holds an emergency council meeting with the lords charged with overseeing Orte and informs them that he's selling the country to the Drifters. His attempt to coerce the noblemen to surrender peacefully, however, is disrupted by Rasputin, who possesses 2 of the nobles to reveal that the Black King is also planning to seize the Orte Empire for his campaign. However, his actions are proven useless in the face of absolute aggression as Lord Toyohisa proceeds to kick a nobleman's brain out. And after being humiliated by Toyohisa and Nobunaga, Rasputin retreats, and the Black King sends Hijikata and his troops to combat the Drifters in the capital, shifting their focus from seizing Orte to destroying it to prevent the Drifters from obtaining it. To assist with the ensuing battle, Saint-Germain gives his army back to the battlefield where Nobunaga is commanding the army's gunner squad while Toyohisa and Yoichi lead the dwarves and elves respectively into the fray. After the Drifters successfully outmaneuver and outplay the End's vanguard, angering Hijikata and making him join the battlefield. As the Drifters and their army decimate the End's troops, Hijikata gives orders for his soldiers to break into smaller units and disperse into the streets, setting the city ablaze while heading to Orte's capital buildings. Hijikata and Toyohisa meet in the street to fist it out, although Hijikata was using the ghostly images of dead Shinsengumi to attack Toyohisa. Meanwhile, Nobunaga and Hannibal decide that instead of chasing the End's troops, they'll trap their enemies in the capital buildings when they arrive and kill them with Yoichi's squad and Olminu's reluctant reluctant assistance. With their army destroyed, the Black King orders Hijikata, who was getting his ass clapped, to withdraw from his fight against Toyohisa. Back in Kaniades, Rasputin apologizes to the Black King for their failure in seizing Orte, although the Black King is pleased that they're able to cripple the capital city and gauge the drifters' strength. And the show ends on a cliffhanger when we find out that Akechi has joined the Black King and ends lines after hearing Nobunaga's voice during his encounter with Rasputin. So this is it for today's video. If you like the video, give it a huge thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more videos. Farewell till next time.